Okay, so we are going to jump into chapter 2 of A People's History of the United States, written by Howard Zinn. Chapter 2 is titled Drawing the Color Line. A lot was unpacked here. We are going to go through this as it's presented in this chapter. For starters, I want to just say that the English settlers that came to what is now known as Virginia did not know what the fuck they were doing. They were starving. They did not know how to grow food. All they had were weapons, bits of barley that they brought on their ships, and the desire to exploit and murder. The native population that was in that area helped these people. They fed these people. And eventually they realized, oh my gosh, these people just want to kill us and take from us. And so they tried to revolt. And then as a response, the settlers were like, yeah, we're gonna just try to kill all of you and we don't fuck with you. There are a lot of points made here throughout this chapter. What I want to say here is that the earlier years of the Jamestown colony seemed to be hell for these British people. It's documented in the Journals of the House of Burgesses of Virginia, which was a document of 1619, which talks about the first 12 years of the Jamestown colony. To emphasize how much these British people were starving, look at what's written here. Driven through insufferable hunger to eat those things which nature most abhorred, the flesh and excrements of man as well of our own nation, as of an Indian, digged by some out of his grave after he had lain buried for 3 days, and wholly devoured him. Others, envying the better state of body of any whom hunger has not yet so much wasted as their own, lay wait and threatened to kill and eat them. One among them slew his wife as she slept in his bosom, cut her in pieces, salted her, and fed upon her. So he had, this is disgusting. This is insane. This is crazy. This is not easy to read. But the point I want to drive here is that they would have rather done that than to just coexist and collaborate and work with the native population who was already showing them how to eat and was sharing their food with them. That doesn't make any logical sense to me. To be so committed to domination and private property and ownership of a land that you just discovered, that you would rather eat people, eat your peers and your partners, than to just coexist with the people there. I don't understand that. I really cannot fathom. But we're gonna move on now. So because the English population could not force the Indians to work for them, as Columbus had done, they were outnumbered by the native population. And while with superior firearms they could massacre Indians, they would face massacre in return. They could not capture them and keep them enslaved. The Indians were tough, resourceful, defiant, and at home in these woods, as the transplanted Englishmen were not. So white servants had not yet been brought over in sufficient quantity to do the labor and to provide the labor that the English people needed, that the ruling English people needed in order to eat. And besides, they did not come out of slavery and did not have to do more than contract their labor for a few years to get their passage and start in the New World. So basically, there were white people that were coming to the colony as servants, but then eventually they were freed. Unlike those that were brought as slaves, who did not have any kind of expiration on when they would have to offer up their labor. So here it says, there may have been a kind of frustrated rage at their own ineptitude, at the Indian superiority, at taking care of themselves, that made the Virginians especially ready to become the masters of slaves. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next video because now we're going to start talking about when black slaves were introduced to North America.